Hello, welcome back everyone for another cycle of the Altering Shifting Communing Conversation series, which is presented and hosted by Call for Curators. I am Juliana Gontijo, the curator of the series, and for those who might not be familiar with the series, it is a project that started earlier this year as a way to support and give visibility to curatorial practices that rethink ethically, critically, and politically the role of curating. What I think we want to really do through this series is carve out a digital space to rethink what we do in communal terms, but also present projects that are rooted in process and in research and that foster meaningful ways of imagining our work. And it is also a series that wants to explore different formats of sustainability for independent curatorial practices. So through the series, I think what is important for us is to manage to nurture an approach that cultivates notions of collaboration and long-term care, and that also sets in motion mechanisms that are different from those of hyperproductivity and competition and the like. So we really want to generate a space of meaningful discourse and also consider how we do things, I always say, rather than just what we do, to also foster somehow our interconnectedness as practitioners, as thinkers. So we are resuming today. After a recess that we took in August, we will begin again to feature conversations every other Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Berlin time. As we are all going back further and further to our commitments, we felt it was important to take on somehow a slower pace for the talks compared to the weekly rhythm that we had throughout the summer. So we want to really give time to take in the conversations that we're having and the content that we're sharing. So for today, let's jump right in. I'm very happy that we are resuming this series with this project called Conversations in Gondwana, which is a curatorial and research platform created in 2017 by Juliana Caffé and Juliana Gontijo. Hello, thank you for being with us today. So as usual, we will have approximately 45 minutes of conversation. And in the meantime, I invite everybody who's watching or listening to ask any questions through the comment section on YouTube and Facebook, and also to connect with us by email to share ideas or feedback as they're watching. And I will share right now our email address, which is talks@callforcurators.com. So I would say let's get started. So Juliana, again, thank you for being with us today. As you know, I always tend to begin these conversations by asking our guests to introduce themselves in their own words. Tell us a bit about who they are, where they're talking with us from, and also how you have been in the past few months. What is the current situation where you are now? We cannot just pretend that everything is a normal state. We are in an absolutely exceptional state. And so I always pose such a broad question to allow people to address, whatever it is that they would like to address from their specificity of where they are, where they're talking from. So please.
Okay, Laria. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. You are listening?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Go ahead. Don't worry. I think there's just a little bit of technical lag. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation. We are very happy to be part of your project and could share a little bit about our project here. Well, my name is Juliana Caffé. I'm from Brazil, São Paulo. I'm based in São Paulo. And things is not so good here, as everybody knows, but it's everything okay. And well, I'm an independent curator and researcher. I'm living here, but I have always lived in South Africa for a while, where I did a research project in UCT, University of Cape Town. And now I'm here in São Paulo doing a doctorate research at USP, the University of São Paulo. and working with independent projects.
Wonderful. Juliana, do you want to go ahead? I don't know if, yes, I don't know if the other Juliana is having some issues also with the line, but we will figure it out shortly.
Okay, so I will go ahead.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us here. It's really a pleasure. And also thank you all the people that are watching us. So I'm Juliana Gontijo. I was born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I lived a little bit in other places and cities around the world. I graduated in cinematography studies in Paris at Université Sorbonne Nouvelle. And after that, I went to Argentina and I lived long time there. So I did my doctorate there in art and art history and theory. And now I live in South Bahia, in a small town called Arraial da Ajuda. Here I teach at the University of South Bahia. It's in Porto Seguro. I have to cross a river to go there. And it's a really touristic city. So now we have been closed. Well, everything was closed for months, but now things started opening. So we are really worried because it was a holiday yesterday. So lots of tourists came to the city and were like walking around as nothing was going on. So it's frightening us a little bit because, well, I mean, we are in a really hard situation with lots of cases and deaths because of COVID. So we're in this situation right now.
Yes. Well, I'll see if Juliana can rejoin us because we lost her for a moment, but then I will just move on with the first question that we had so that we can really start talking about your project and then bring in Juliana as soon as she connects back again. So the first kind of question that I had is somehow following the title series in a way, and it's really about, here we go. Welcome back, Juliana. So we were talking about the very first question that I had prepared for you, that it is somehow structured around the title of the series. I realized that we haven't perhaps addressed it well enough or extensively enough in the previous talk. So I really want to try and follow this path as a structuring form for this talk. And it is really the idea of altering, right? Which we use in this, in the sense of changing, that is to say, changing the terms really of the conversation. So I want to talk about your project and also how your project has been doing all of this. So as I mentioned briefly in the introduction, the project is called Conversations in Gondwana. And what I wanted to ask you to tell us a bit about is really, well, first, what Gondwana is, for those who might not be familiar with the term or might not know what it is. But also, most importantly, of course, what the project is and what are the main concerns it addresses. So in a way, I also want to take the opportunity to highlight the fact that often in your descriptions of the project, you talk about this idea, this concept of border thinking that was developed by Argentine semiotician Walter Mignolo. And so I think that is a structuring concern somehow of the project. But so what it is, where does Gondwana as an idea come from to structure this process? And also why you decided to initiate a new project with this specific set of ideas. So if you can tell us a little bit. And in the meantime, I'll just share the link so that people can also eventually go have a look at your website. Here we go.
Okay, so Gondwana is the name of this supercontinent that about 200 years ago used to bring together the masses that we now know for South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, and India. Mm-hmm. And the fragmentation of Gondwana was caused by tectonic plates. So we use this geological concept, this geological idea as a metaphor to talk about the global south. No? So, and when we talk about the global south, is also to try to intensify the flow of practices and research among artists, curators, and researchers on these southern territories. When we talk about global south, we know it's an ambiguous term. No? It's really ambiguous because somehow it substitutes the old term third world, but it's a lot more complex than that. Normally, the countries that make part of this south, they share some features, but not all of them. One common denominator that we can think about is the fact that they were once colonies. But we also know that the lines that divide north and south, they are not well defined. We know there's a lot of north in the south and south in the north. So when we talk about the global south, we don't want to emphasize this dualism, the dualism between north and south, and also between center and marginality, no? Yes. Because we know things are conjugated, and we also know that modern capitalism really maybe nothing outside. Everything is part of its system. So what we understand is that we need to diversify, extend knowledge, or put it in place dialogues that are more horizontal and displace these borders. No, so that's when we approach the theory of Walter Mignolo, that is an Argentinian theorist, and he thinks about the border thinking. No, the border thinking is a way to respond to that. Is a way to respond this kind of way of modernity that thought itself as unique and universal. So it's a way to respond to this kind of thinking by the and also to respond to this subordination process, no, where coloniality put the authority in a place that were under or less than that. No, so so the border thinking tries to bring other kinds of thinking in the world, other ways to other forms of knowledge. So that's what is important for our project, to incorporate aesthetically and experimentally talking. Sorry. So in our project, it's really important to through aesthetic and experimental process to open up and expand the ways of producing knowledge through art.
Wonderful. Juliana, oh, she froze again. And Juliana, can you tell us also a little bit really about the circumstances? So I mentioned before that it started in 2017, but I was very brief and I didn't want to take that away from you. But it would be interesting also to know a little bit about how the two of you met, how you came together, and also how you decided to embark on such a project, which I find very interesting. And I thank you in advance because we haven't talked, I feel, enough throughout the series about this question of decolonial thinking and the issue of decoloniality at large. So I'm very, very happy that we get to start again in the fall with you and Juliana just to really discuss these elements somehow.
Yeah, well, so we started the project in 2017. And I was living in São Paulo, and Juliana was moving to South Africa. So we wanted to do a project where we could do by distance, where we could still work together as female curators and reinforce our work together, and bring closer these two realities. Juliana?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what is
Totally
happening.
fine. It's totally fine.
You are hurting me. Okay, you can listen to me.
I started talking. I started saying how we started the project. So if you want to continue.
Okay. Well, we launched the project in 2017. At the time, I was going to live in South Africa to do research at the University of Cape Town. And Ju and I, we were already talking about developing something together. We have both been working collaboratively on other projects, and we both believe and value the collaborative work. So we believe that the exchange and be able to work through the dissension, being open to debate issues, to listen and reflect and changing our minds enrich our practice and our project. So we value this exercise, and that is very important aspect of the project. In fact, this is the exercise we are proposing through the project, this political side of relationships. So when I arrived in South Africa, I went to the core of the Must Fall movement at UCT. The students were protesting in favor of the removal of statues of English colonists from the campus, and also claiming for change the names of the streets and things. And there were many discussions going on about the politics of visual language, and politics of memory, and also the language itself. And as a Brazilian, it was very intriguing in many senses to witness all that, and we recognize ourselves in many ways in this struggle. It was a coup, political, legal, and mediatic coup again.
I think we lost her again.
We have problem.
Yes. Juliana, do you want to pick up from where she left so that we can?
Well, she was talking about the context and the situation that we were living in South Africa and Brazil. So Brazil, the how do you say it in English? Coup d'etat?
Yes, like a coup, we can
like
say.
Of Dilma Rousseff, and South Africa, the movement of Rhodes Must Fall. And on these two atmospheres, Juliana is back again. I was finished talking about the context and saying that on those perspectives, we started deepening our readings on the colonial studies, especially from the Latin America perspective, with the modernity coloniality group. So we started reading them. We already mentioned Walter Mignolo, but we also talk about Maria Lugones.
Yes.
That's a very important theorist for our research right now. So, Jo, I live with you again.
Can I turn off the cam? I think that would be
Of course, you can do anything you want.
To speak.
Absolutely. Go ahead. We will hear, we will see your name anyway speaking. Feel free.
Okay, I think that could be better like this. Okay, so so we usually say that the conception of the project has had as a starting point our conversations and exchange about what was happening at that time, that is atmosphere that we were experiencing. And so my image is frozen.
Yes, you can turn it off if you would like, and if not, just turn the camera off.
So from the beginning, I'm trying, but they didn't obey me.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Don't worry, let's go ahead, and then we'll figure it out.
So from the beginning, the process and experimentation.
Perfect.
Okay. So, well, the process and the experimentation, in addition to collaboration, have always been important aspects of the project. So we can say that those three words are what we are proposing through the project. Collaboration as a tool, the process as a place where the work happens, and experimentation as a guide. And be open to the exchange, to what these exchanges will bring to the work. So the project has this very organic format, and all this in a very political exercise, which we believe is necessary not only in the artistic field but also for contemporary world. But we know that it's not easy. It's not either.
Juliana, are you with us? Let's see.
Yes, I'm here, but I'm finished.
Okay, wonderful. Because we can't see you, so I don't have any pointers toward the end of the question or the end of your answer. But let's go. And okay, so thank you for this, because I think it kind of sets the methodological landscape and the approach you wanted to set up, which is very, very specific. I think that you used a lot of elements and concepts that are now very much, I would say they have become buzzwords. Like they're trendy and everybody wants to work like that. But then when you start digging into the processes of the work, you see that those things are not necessarily there. So it makes projects look interesting and cool and ethical, but the process stays exactly the same. It's just a facade. And I was very touched and very much interested when we first spoke about the fact that instead, when we start digging into your project, we see that that approach is exactly there. And so that's what I would like to kind of jump into, which is this other question that I have for you, which is, again, following the thread of the title, is about the idea of somehow shifting, in the sense of shifting ideas and shifting methodologies, and how to develop curatorial work through this process of change, through this process of shifting. So when preparing for this talk, you also mentioned something that I think was very important, like it resonated with me a lot. You said that what you're trying to establish is another type of communication, right? You said that's what we want to establish, another type of communication. And so as Juliana, who's back with us just now, was saying, you create conditions, I think, for a very specific type of exchange to happen among the artists invited and with you guys and with the institutions that are involved. So it feels like it is really about understanding and experiencing a historical, cultural, socio-political context through the relationship with others involved in the project. So through others, ultimately. So what I would like to ask you is whether you can guide us a little bit through the first edition of the project, which, as we said, was in 2017. And as you briefly mentioned, also involved artists from Brazil and from South Africa.
Yeah.
And also if you can tell us why, of course, you chose these two countries, as Juliana was saying, but also what were also the processes. And I guess the challenges, the unexpected things that the project brought to surface, dealing with different countries, dealing with different artists, even just different individuals, brings about different processes altogether, different difficulties, different interesting things. So if you can guide us a little bit through how you structured that project, that first experiment in the first place, and also sort of what you have been learning ever since through this process. I think it's very interesting.
Well, Ilaria, the first edition was really intense for us. It was really long in time because we started in 2017 and we managed to do an exhibition in 2019. So we spent 2 years, almost 2 years, working with those artists and trying to find fundings to make things happen. And not only fundings, also finding ways, no, to make things happen. When we started the project, this edition, the first edition, we knew it was the first one. We knew we would like to do others, so that's why we concentrated in Brazil, that's where I was living, and South Africa, where Juliana was living, and we thought about doing a publication. It was not about an exhibition. It was about putting up people, artists that didn't know each other, to start a conversation, to in our future put this conversation, like the emails, the WhatsApp chat, I don't know, whatever, edited, of course, but to put this in a publication as an experimental publication mixed with an artist book, also because it could also have drawings, pictures, things that they would exchange. But we were not focusing on a final product. Well, the publication can be a product, but it will be a publication about the process.
Mm-hmm.
So we were thinking about collaboration as an end in itself. No, the collaboration was the main focus, but we felt like the artists were more inclined for an exhibition. So in our we put the pair together. We used to we let them free to continue the conversations. We would have some Skype meetings, like each 2 months, something like that. So we could keep it up and know what they would be doing, and also hear their concerns. So we felt like, well, maybe an exhibition, it's an end to this process. It would be an end, like a way to give form or to make a formal presentation of this collaboration. So we invited 6 pairs to work together, always composed by 1 Brazilian and 1 South African. We, as curators, we search for artists that were dealing with similar approaches, similar themes, similar worries on the work. So, for example, Paulo Nime Pejota and Siwa Mongosa were dealing with post-colonialist identities and representations. Ana Hupe and Gabriele Golaya were working over gender and also post-colonialism. Well, we gave some kind of we put together those artists that we thought that work on related subjects, and some of them started right away writing to each other, and the others didn't. And that's something that, well, when we started the collaboration, as you said, when we go to the practice, we started facing difficulties that make us rearrange something that we had idealized on the first place. So that's why we changed. No, from the publication, we started thinking about exhibition. There are other details that we're gonna talk later about this change.
Yes, and then in this first edition of the project, we had 2 exhibitions. One exhibition in Durban, South Africa, and one exhibition in São Paulo, Brazil. And the exhibition in Durban was an invitation from Ismail Farouk, that was one of the artists that we had invited to work together with Daniel Lima. And Ismail is also professor in the University of Durban, in the Faculty of Arts. And that year, in 2018, happens the IZEA, an international symposium on electronic art in the university. And Ismail found that would be a good opportunity to bring us together, to meet and to see in real life and exchange a little bit. Because after all, Gondwana happens through electronic devices. We are always talking through WhatsApp and meeting Skype and email and so on. So then me, Juliana, and Daniel Lima went to Durban, and we did a roundtable at the IZEA about the project, and we present an exhibition. But in this exhibition was about the process. We didn't had yet the collaborative works. Mm-hmm. So we present individual works of each artist related to the conversations they were having. So I think you can show an image of Gabriele Golia's work, personal accounts.
Sharing the screen.
Yes, let's try and see if it works. It should, though. There we go.
Oh, wait, no, it's not that. Sorry, wrong file.
Take your time. In the meantime, I will just show again for those who might want to have a look afterwards at the project. Here we go. This is your website, and now we can see your screen share.
Yes, this is the round table. Harun Gonçalves, one of the artists, also participate through the Skype. And this is personal accounts. It's a work by Gabriele Goliat. Mm-hmm. As Juliana said, she usually worked with exploring the possibilities and ethical demands of performing and making shareable traumatic recalls. So there was this installation with 5 channels and these women's. And then it's a work from Paulo Nimer PJ. He and Silva were exchanging a lot of images through WhatsApp about the manifestations of the visual manifestations in the streets. And this video he made with his cell phone. It's about the rap culture in São Paulo. And then Silva, and then this is a work from Silva. Silva usually investigates the conflicts that arise from the encounter between cultures and questions the meaning of identity, model levels, and etc. So this is an example.
And these were works that were developed for the exhibition somehow, like as a result of this exchange process?
No, this work they had already done, but it's works that relates to conversations that they had and why we invite them to the project. It's having this kind of similarity in mind.
Wonderful. And did you feel, I'm just asking you some lateral questions, but I think it's very interesting, like this fact that there is a dialogue between practices that then you transform into reality. And then these works are presented somehow with one another in the exhibition space, articulating further these relationships, right? So I was just wondering also if you had the chance to, I think it's always very interesting when you curate an exhibition to really listen to what people are saying in the exhibition space, like what kind of connections or what kind of articulations they are making on their own. And I was just wondering whether you had the chance to spend some time in the exhibition space and to see this sort of connection making happening in like real time, I guess is the word for that.
Well,
yeah.
Go on, Ju.
No, go on, you.
I was going to say that the exhibition in Durban happened in a 3-day lapse because it was inside the IZEA. So we had, as Juliana said, was an exhibition that was a kind of midterm exhibition in the first edition of Gondwana, because the pairs didn't have yet their collaboration work done, so we use individual works mostly. And but I think to answer your question, we could talk about our experience for Centro Cultural São Paulo, the São Paulo Cultural Center. It was a big exhibition that we did in 2019 that closed the first edition of the project. For this exhibition, we got some funding, and we were able to bring the South African artist to São Paulo. We wanted to do that. We had really a short amount of money, but we said we need to bring them because it was a moment to physically encounter those two persons that were communicating. And some of the works happen in the exhibition space. I mean, like, we didn't know what they would do. They had some ideas, not all of them, but we had some pairs that worked like that. And so some of the works happen like in the moment of the exhibition with materials that the artists brought through all those conversations. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this exhibition because we also, well, first of all, São Paulo Cultural Center is a really interesting place. It's not only because of the architecture, it's a modern architecture, it's amazing, but also because it's a place where there's a huge audience, public that goes there to use the library, to go to concerts, but also to use the space to rehearsal, dance steps and things like that. Yes. It's amazing. So doing an exhibition there for us also created this kind of involvement and share and exchange with the public that was rich for the project, and we want to emphasize that. And I think we did it well on working with the typography, on dealing with the space. I'm gonna share now.
Yeah, go ahead
again. Oh wait, let's see how. No. Okay, if I do like this, can you see it?
Perfectly.
Okay. So here we are in our website, and we have some images of São Paulo Cultural Center. We had a huge space. I think it was more than 500 square meters. We had lots of space, and we did this, as we see here in the middle. We bought a carpet, and we had some puffs from the cultural center, and we did this like a conversation space. It's in the middle of our exhibition space. We created this because we wanted the space to reflect a little bit what Gondwana is.
Yes.
So all the artworks sort of gravitate around this conversation space. So here at the on this, I don't know if you see my mouse, but we have Ana Hoop's work. Here we have Paulo PJ and Siwa's work, and well, here a little bit more of the space. But it was people used that when we, after the opening, we went several times to the São Paulo Cultural Center, and we saw people there having classes, drawing, sleeping, kissing, and well, it's like a space for multiple uses.
Yes,
so
yes.
we were really glad about it. And at the exhibition, I wanted to, okay, I don't have the picture here. I will show it in a while. I want to show a picture of Clara Yanni and Mikhail Subotsky. As I told you, we didn't know, for this pair specifically, we didn't know what they were going to do. So we left empty wall for them with the size that they wanted to. And when Mikhail arrived in São Paulo, he and Clara met at the São Paulo Cultural Center, and they spent like 2 days sitting in front of this wall, looking and dealing with some elements. So Mikhail had brought some paintings from South Africa, and Clara had some objects that she brought from her studio. They had already this idea in mind, that was the idea of triangulation. They thought about the triangulation as a navigation tool, but also the triangulation of ideas, of thoughts, of images, of texts. So they thought about the navigation to navigate towards an unknown point, to try to triangulate Brazil, South Africa, and London, because they have met in London before during those exchange period. So they had met in London, and London is the birthplace of Edward Suez. Edward Suez is the creator of the Gondwana project. It's here. He is this guy here.
Yeah.
So they work with elements that would like sort of navigational orientation or missed clues to this Gondwana theory. So it was a really nice work that they did. And another work that I would like to highlight also is the work of Aline Xavier and Arun Gunsali. They worked over a tragedy that had just happened just before the exhibition. There was a huge tragedy that I'm gonna look at my notes because I don't know how to say it in English. It was a mining tailings dam spill. Well, this kind of dam with the lots of tailings, I think, mining tailings that exploded. And
Mining tailing.
So it was a huge social and ecological tragedy. So they went there just before the exhibition. Here we can see an image. It was a photograph, and they did a soundscape also that was part of the exhibition. And with the photographs and the soundscape, they printed this polyurethane, I don't know how to say it in English.
Yes,
sculpture. Yes, that was made from a 3D digital file. Well, this is one of the prophets of Aleijadinho. Aleijadinho is one of the greatest artists from the Baroque, from the Brazilian Baroque. And this sculpture, together with another 11, they were declared World Heritage by UNESCO, and they are being eroded by dust and acid rain because they are in open air. So that's why when they did the printing, when they did the reproduction, they reinforced this deterioration of the sculpture. So they would say that this sculpture emphasized symbolically the crimes of liability of the mining companies. So they say it was not a tragedy, it was a premeditated crime.
Wonderful.
Ju?
These are more images from the... Do you want to stop the screen share? Juliana, can you hear us?
Juliana Caffé? Okay, so
maybe not.
I will continue when she comes back.
Of course.
Because she was going to talk a little bit about this other performance done by Daniel Lima and Ismail Farouk. This performance was as kind of an intersect of food and questions of gender and race and class. So what they did was create this separated zone. Here we can see the security guards. They are intentionally black, and inside 2 cakes were distributed. Oh, sorry. The security guards would give each person that would enter a card that would determine which cake they would be able to taste. The white cake, that's a cake done with white sugar that in a colonial time, it was the most expensive sugar of them all. So it's a bolo de rolo, it's a kind of typical traditional cake from the northeast part of Brazil. And the other cake is done with a sort of rough sugar, a sort of rustic sugar, not refined, that used to be the sugar left for poor slave persons. So in this exhibition, they were reinforcing this kind of segregation that it still goes on in our society. Ju, are you there? Are you back? Well, no. So
yes, I'm here, but
okay.
I don't know if you are listening to me.
Now we can hear you. Yes.
So can you talk about the archipelago?
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I will talk briefly because I think that our time is running. But
Yes.
The archipelago was really interesting. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Let's see, maybe she
okay.
can.
As you said, we didn't know a lot about the work that the pairs would present in the exhibition. So we thought that would be important. I think I'm with a huge delay. So sorry. Ju.
Yes.
Juliana, maybe do you want to pick it up? I know that it would be important to have both speaking, but I don't know if she's lagging a lot behind.
Okay, I will try to.
So
Maybe.
Yes.
Go ahead. Juliana, go ahead. She disconnected again. So
Okay.
let's
So
go.
I will resume a little bit about this idea of archipelago. We had a huge space and lots of artworks, as I said. We didn't know what was going on. So also as a strategy, as curators, we created this other section inside the exhibition that we called Archipelago. We already worked with this notion in our website. We not only talk about the editions of the project, but we also interview people that have research or artworks that comes together or comes closer to what Gondwana is. We translate texts that interested us. So
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, now it's working. Okay. So sorry.
Okay. I will just finish my sentence. So we did something like this for the archipelago. We invited artists that were correlated to the idea of Gondwana, the idea that we were working with, to show some works on the space. And we had some historical artists, as Penny Siopis from South Africa. We also had artists that were part of the project, but somehow they could not continue. For example, Marcelo Mosqueta. Marcelo Mosqueta was one example of art of a pair of artists that his duo wouldn't communicate. So the collaboration project didn't work. So anyway, we wanted to have some Marcelo Mosqueta works on the show, so we invited him to this session. Ju, do you wanna?
I think that we can move forward. I think that it's important, Marcelo Mosqueta, this work from Cynthia Marcelli and Jean Miran, that was really interesting. There was a work they did collaboratively. Cynthia is Brazilian and Jean Miran is South African. And they did this in 2003, so a lot of years ago. And then we find this amazing work and bring. And Kimang Valehulere also. Kimang was supposed to work with Clara, but didn't work. But we bring him in the archipelago with some works related to apartheid, and as Penny Siopis also. And so it's a really important session because we can work with the exhibition in a more solid way.
Thank you for this. And so, yes, Juliana is right. We are about to run out of time. So I will just bring together the last two questions I had for you. One, I just wanted for you to tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now. I know that there's a second edition in the works. And I think that it is important, of course, because it's an extension and sort of a moving forward of the process, but also because, as we were talking while preparing for the talk, really is centered around not only the colonial thinking, but the colonial feminist thinking. You mentioned before Maria Lugones, and I think that for all of us, it was a major figure, a very important figure, and we honor her memory as this is a very sad year as she passed away only 2 months ago. And I think that is a very important legacy to bring forward through exhibition making. So I wanted to ask you, okay, second edition of the project is in the works, what it is about, how it is centered around the colonial feminist thinking, but also bringing in sort of the last question I had for you, which was about the last part of our title, communing, is that you also have a lot of partners, you have a lot of artists, and you activate a whole network, right, of collaboration, as you were saying. It's really a communal effort. So I would ask you, as you described to us what you're working on right now, also if you could mention some of, again, as you did wonderfully just now with some of the artists, really also if you questions you're setting in motion for this new edition. And as I always say, this is a very important opportunity for us, not only to invite a project like yours, but also to amplify the work of others through your project. So I know you've shared some links with us in advance of the talk. We will have them on the talk page. So for those who might be interested in having a further look at the extended network of collaborators you're working with. But if you want to tell us a little bit, yes, about what is going on right now. And in the meantime, I also encourage whoever's watching to start typing questions in the comment section if they have any questions. Go ahead. And this is the website again for those who might have joined. Some people are joining just now, so I just want them to be able to see who we're talking with.
Okay. So for this second edition, we have been working with Espaço de Arte Contemporâneo in Montevideo, Uruguay. That is, we have to say that have been a really important partnership. They selected our project in two moments for curatorial research and for an exhibition. And it's really important institutions to give space for curatorial research. And as independent curator, we need this kind of space. So we went to Uruguay and we decided to, for this edition, starts from the work of Gabriele Goliat and Ana Rupi from the first edition. Because me and Ju, we learn a lot with this first edition, and we experienced the difficulties of being two young Latin American female curators with no institution support in an artistic environmental deeply marked by gender inequalities. And we want to reflect about this in this edition. So we decided to take these issues to this edition. And so it's important to say that we learned that we have limits. So for this edition, we invite only 2 pairs and not 6. And we also learned that it's not everyone that is willing to do this collaboration work. It's not easy to work with collaboration. You have to be open to change your mind, to discuss, to listen. So we decided to invite for this edition an African curator to help us with the selection, because a curator that not only know the work but also the artist. This is important for a project. And so we invite Quasi. I'm so sorry. I would like to share a picture of him, but I can't do it. So we invite Quasi, Onere Aye, who lives and works between Kumasi and Accra in Ghana. And so we present him the project, and I met Quasi in Accra in 2017 when I went there to a curatorial intensive of Independent Curators International. And we contact him and he helped us with the selection. So me and Ju went to Uruguay and we met a lot of artists. We did studio visits. We met researchers and institutions. It was really a really rich moment for us. We studied a lot. And we did a lot of Skype meetings with Quasi. And then we select the 2 artists from Ghana to have conversations with 2 artists from Uruguay. So I think you can speak a little bit about.
Yes, no, we are working with the colonial feminism, as you said, and for us it's an important concept because the colonial feminism, in contrast with liberal feminism, don't think women as a universal way, no, but also tries to intersect questions of race, class, and also coloniality in the way of thinking feminism. And that's why Maria Lugones is really important in this research. because she did that, and she would criticize those feminist theories that would think women in a universal way. She was part of the group Modernity Coloniality that we already talked about, and the other feminists that interest us as Lélia Gonçalves is a Brazilian, really important theorist from the intersectional perspective. We are going to study now Bibi Bakare Yusuf. It's an African art historian and feminist. And we are also doing this research not only in a curatorial approach, but also in an academic approach. As I'm in a university, and Juliana is, I'm in the University of South Bahia, and Juliana is at University of São Paulo. We are doing a study group with students from my university to look over these ideas, also over the concept of decolonization or decolonial perspectives. So it has been really important for us, this theoretical approach, and I think theory is not only theory is reflected on practice. So we should so we invited two women artists from Uruguay and two women artists from Ghana this time, as the other Juliana was telling us about, and they already started their collaboration through emails and WhatsApps and all the kinds. It's working really well. We are so glad. We are so glad of the work they are doing. And I have to say, I was commenting to you, Ilaria, before that there is one pair, Ana Aristimuño and Patrick B. Wong. They don't speak the same language. Ana Aristimuño doesn't speak English, and Patrick doesn't speak Spanish. So it's when you see this kind of how do you say it, defy or and things are going in such a grateful way, like for us, for as curators, but we are more like and I don't know how to say, we propose, no? Mm-hmm. We propose those collaborations. We don't know how things are going. So Anna and Patrick, I wanna show some images of what they are doing. I'm gonna okay, open here, and they are working with their mother. So from this relation, mother and daughter, they are thinking about tradition, community, sharing, healing also, because both mothers, that's some huge coincidence, it's amazing. Both mothers used to work with the hands, with manual skills, with weaving and sewing. So they're working with them. Okay, I'm gonna show some images that Patrick sent to us today with the work she's doing with her mother. We don't have still the works Anna is doing with her mother, but they are in this research of weaving as a metaphor, weaving and sewing as a metaphor of something that doesn't have a form, doesn't and after the manual labor receives a structure. So that's Patrick's son. So that's Patrick working on this huge sewing piece, and here there is a detail.
Wonderful. Thank you for this. It's very moving to hear that there are so many resonances across practices, and also the ability to defy, as we were saying before, the somehow imperialism of English language, for which everybody has to know it, but it's not necessarily like that, I think.
Yeah, they are using Google Translator.
That's amazing. Well,
and
thank you.
Paola and Priscilla also, no? Just to mention another... just to mention that the second pair is also being really great, the work with them, and they are also exchanging and doing a common diary and working and researching about the story of objects and trees and possible exchanges between history between the countries. There's Paola Monzilo and Priscilla Kennedy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this. I have received very, very nice comments here. I'm just going to show one of someone who's connecting from Guyana, which is pretty amazing. I'm very happy. And then we got an amazing question that I'm just going to show you here, and I'm going to read, and I thank the person who wrote this, asking, would you connect these conversations in the future to South Asia? Do you have concerns about, and if so, how do you navigate the amount of space exhibition making and art practice take up in claiming political and social affect and effect? I don't know who wants to take it. It's a complex and dense question. We have only a couple of minutes, but I am really, really grateful that we have such an amazing insight coming through to kind of sort of show further the process and the thinking behind these.
Can you put again the
Of
question?
course, apologies.
Thank you.
So I guess the first half is whether you would extend these practices to South Asia, sort of continuing this South-South thinking somehow.
Yes, definitely. We we have a lot of curiosity and desire to expand these experimentations and these connections to Asia and to Arabia. Well, it's something that we have in mind.
And I think the second half of the question is really about, I guess, the word used here is space, which I guess it's physical space, but also mental space and resources and processes. As you spoke about how complex it is, we didn't get to talk about sustainability, but I know it was in the back of our mind throughout, because it's something that I always bring forward and we discuss it separately. But really, like, all this labor and processes that go into the exhibition making and the bringing together all these art practices, right? Through this political and social lens, but sort of the density also of the effort and the labor and the resources that go into it. So I guess the question is how you've been thinking about it, whether it's something that concerns you, how you relate to all this process that is necessary in order to bring about such type of project.
Yes, well, it's a constant work. And as we said in the beginning, the collaboration and the process as the space where this collaboration happens, and the experimental as a guide, be open to the experimentation. And well, we try to follow everything. And the exhibition is of course a moment of putting this in the space, but it's more rich than that. It's the political of the relationships. It's trying to live together and in a very respectful way, and trying to exchange.
I'm not sure if I'm going to answer to the answer. Thank you for the answer, the question. Just to say that when we first decided to do this project, when we talk about the publication, we thought about the publication because the publication doesn't require a lot of money to do it, especially if you think about an online publication. When we go to exhibition, the exhibition demands another landscape of financial support.
Yeah.
No, so we are independent. As Juliana said, it's a continual struggle to move the project forward. We manage open calls, so we are always looking to open calls in the diverse countries to see if we get some fundings to make it happen. We are now in our country, in Brazil, we are living in a really hard situation where we have a fascist government who thinks art in a really different perspective than we do. So culture is being put aside and being cut, all the fundings. So we know that's not a good time to work with art in Brazil, and even more when we have this kind of political and social claim, that, as the question was talking about. No, it's not an exhibition that is appealing for some institutions because it's experimental, because it doesn't bring this spectacularity that sometimes institutions with this kind of thinking wants from an art production.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to both. And thank you for the entire conversation. Thank you to those who have been listening and watching. I'm just going to show one last time the website, and I encourage everybody to have a look and keep up with the project also on social media. We very much look forward to the second edition of it. Thank you, Juliana and Juliana. This was absolutely wonderful. And again, thank you, everyone. As I mentioned before, we will be back with the next talk on Tuesday, September 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Berlin time. We will announce our speaker in the coming days, so stay tuned or subscribe to the newsletter. I'm also going to show two things. One is our website to have information. You can subscribe to the newsletter here, but also for anybody who has questions or comments or feedback or wants to get in touch with Juliana and Juliana, I also encourage you to write to us. We're always very happy to work as connectors and bring people together. So thank you both again for this time, for sharing your knowledge and process. And we all look forward to keeping up with the amazing things you're going to be doing in the next months.
Thank you, Ilaria.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.